Hey everyone, have you ever wondered if there could be life inside our sun? It may seem like a crazy question, but scientists have actually put a lot of thought into it. The answer might surprise you. The sun is a star, just one of billions in the Milky Way galaxy. Stars are giant balls of hot plasma held together by their own gravity. They convert hydrogen to helium in their cores, releasing tremendous amounts of energy in the process. Our sun is about 4.4 million kilometers in diameter. That's big enough to fit 1.3 million Earths lined up side by side. But the sun isn't just massive, it's also extremely hot. The sun has no solid surface, so it's impossible to land on it. Its atmosphere gradually fades into space. You might think that the sun's surface is at 1,000 degrees Celsius. But that's just the temperature of its photospheric region where most of the sun's light is emitted. Deeper inside the sun, the temperature rises dramatically. The core reaches about 15 million degrees Celsius. This is thousands of times hotter than the surface of the sun, and more than 10 times hotter than the core of Earth. These extreme temperatures make it impossible for life as we know it to exist. But what about other forms of life, such as microorganisms or bacteria? Could they survive inside the sun? Even the most heat-resistant bacteria known to science could be above 122 degrees Celsius for more than a few minutes. At such high temperatures, their proteins would denature, and their DNA would break down. Another reason why the sun isn't habitable is its lack of a solid surface. Scientists refer to the sun as a massive ball of plasma. Plasma is a state of matter similar to gas, but it's electrically charged. Stars form from collapsing clouds of gas, and gravity pulls matter inward. As the core of a star becomes denser and heavier, the temperature and pressure rise. Eventually, the core reaches millions of degrees Celsius and hydrogen atoms are forced to combine and form helium. This process is called nuclear fusion. Nuclear fusion powers all stars, including our sun. The intense heat and pressure inside the sun prevent any solid matter from existing. If you were to descend into the sun, you'd find it difficult to move around, because there's no stable ground beneath your feet. It would feel like being in a thick liquid. And if you're wondering what the sun's surface actually looks like, I have an illustration for you. It's important to note that the sun doesn't emit light from its surface. Light is produced through nuclear fusion in the sun's core, and then it takes about 100,000 years to reach the surface. At the surface, photons can travel freely, and this is where we observe the sun's light. If you wanted to see what was happening inside the sun, you'd need to build a spacecraft that could withstand extreme heat and pressure. Unfortunately, current technology isn't capable of doing this. Now, let's talk about radiation. The sun is a major source of radiation in our solar system. Every second, it releases more than 100 million billion watt of energy. This energy travels to Earth in the form of electromagnetic waves. On Earth, we experience a small amount of this radiation, which is necessary for life. Plants use sunlight for photosynthesis, and we get vitamin D from the sun's rays. However, too much radiation can be dangerous. The sun's radiation has the potential to destroy the chemical bonds that hold biological structures together. For example, ultraviolet radiation from the sun can damage DNA, which can lead to cancer. People who work in radiation therapy use machines that emit powerful beams of radiation to kill cancer cells. But even these machines are designed to deliver radiation in very small doses. There are several safety measures in place to protect the people working with them. When it comes to the sun, the radiation is much more intense. In the sun's core, protons and neutrons collide at high speeds and produce high-energy particles like X-rays and gamma rays. These particles can travel through matter and ionize atoms, knocking off electrons and creating ions. Free electrons and ions can then interact with other atoms and molecules, causing them to become ionized as well. This process can damage cells and DNA, which is why scientists believe that the sun's radiation is another reason why life can't exist inside it. Another reason why life can't exist inside the sun is its chemical composition. The sun is mostly made up of hydrogen and helium. These elements are important for life on Earth, but they aren't complex enough to support biological processes. For example, carbon is an essential element for life on Earth because it can form 4 bonds with other atoms. This allows carbon atoms to form long chains and rings, which is important for building large molecules like DNA and proteins. However, there isn't much carbon inside the sun. In fact, most of the carbon in the sun is found in a thin layer just below the core. Scientists believe that life as we know it requires a variety of elements, including oxygen, nitrogen, and phosphorus. These elements are called gems are abundant in the universe and can be found in many different places, including Earth's atmosphere, oceans, and soil. However, they aren't present in the sun in the right conditions to support life. For example, oxygen and nitrogen make up about 78% of Earth's atmosphere, but inside the sun, these gases would be stripped of their electrons and become ions. To understand the conditions inside the sun, it helps to know how stars work. Stars form when giant clouds of gas and dust collapse under their own gravity. As the cloud collapses, the material at the center becomes denser and hotter until nuclear fusion begins. This process creates a tremendous amount of pressure that prevents the star from collapsing in on itself. Stars spend most of their lives in a state of hydrostatic equilibrium, balancing the inward pull of gravity with the outward push of nuclear fusion. When a star runs out of fuel, the balance is broken, and the star collapses, which can result in a supernova explosion. For our sun to run out of fuel, it would take about 5 billion years. But if there were life inside the sun, it wouldn't last that long. As the sun ages, it will expand and eventually engulf Earth. Now let's talk about scientific consensus. There is no evidence that life exists inside the sun, and most scientists agree that it is highly unlikely. Some scientists believe that life could exist in the sun's core, but not as we know it. For example, physicist Luke Harlow from the University of Cambridge in the UK has suggested that exotic forms of matter could exist in the sun's core. This matter could be made up of strange quark stars, which are hypothetical objects that are even denser than neutron stars. However, there's no evidence that strange quark stars exist, and it's unclear whether they could support life. Other scientists believe that life could exist in the convection zone of the sun. This is the layer of the sun between the radiative zone and the photosphere. Convection currents transport heat from the core of the sun to the photosphere. These currents are thought to be driven by differences in density and temperature. As the plasma in the convection zone cools, it becomes less dense and rises to the surface. Once it reaches the photosphere, it radiates energy and then it sinks back down into the convection zone to be heated up again. Some scientists speculate that life could exist in the convection zone because there is a constant supply of energy and the temperature is relatively low compared to the rest of the sun. However, the convection zone is very turbulent and the temperature fluctuates wildly. It's unclear whether any kind of life could survive in such an environment. So what do we know for sure? The sun is a massive, hot, radioactive ball of plasma with a chemical composition that isn't suitable for life as we know it. Most scientists agree that life couldn't exist inside the sun, even in its early stages. It's possible that some forms of life could exist in the convection zone, but there's no evidence to support this theory. If you're still curious about what might exist inside the sun, remember that science is always advancing. Who knows what we might discover in the future? Maybe one day we'll find evidence of life inside the sun, or maybe we'll discover new forms of life that can survive in extreme environments. Until then, the sun will continue to be a source of wonder and mystery for scientists and stargazers alike. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the thumbs up button to help us grow. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing space videos.